Okay, chapter 1, lesson 1, you're doing set notation and interval notation. It's just different ways to write the exact same thing. So the first thing you need to review is, do you remember what natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, irrationals, and rationals? Natural numbers are the numbers you naturally start counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Integers are your negatives and your positives. So negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Irrationals are kind of the weird ones. You cannot write them as a fraction. So square root of 3, pi, square root of 2. And then you have your rationals, and your rationals are anything that can be written as a fraction. 1/3, 0.3333 repeating, 0.125 can be a fraction. So it's whatever can be written as a fraction. Now, there's certain ways you write these letters to indicate if they're whole, if they're natural, if they're irrational. Natural numbers are written as an N. It's kind of like the real numbers I showed y'all where it was like, it's kind of like a double line. The natural numbers, I can get them right. There you go. Kind of like a double line there. They just look a little bit more. W, this is how I always wrote it, Z. So they look a little bit different, but natural numbers is N, whole numbers is W, integers is actually Z, irrationals is I, and rationals are Q. I have no clue why, but it's a Q. This diagram's in your book. Okay, so the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to write stuff in set notation, which we did it in the last chapter, but we're just going to make it more formal. All right, describe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 using set builder. Okay, the set includes natural numbers, because it is natural numbers, greater than or equal to 2 or less than or equal to 7. So on the last test, you were given this statement, and then you had to build 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the formal way of writing it is x is between 2 less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 7, comma, x is a natural number. So that's just the formal way of writing it. The reason you don't want to do rational numbers, because rationals can be fractions. But you want natural numbers. You could actually have also said whole numbers or integers, but you can't say rationals because that adds the fractions and the decimals and all that stuff. But again, it's your brace, x, a line, 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 7, comma, x is an element of natural numbers. So that's the formal way. That's a set notation. Okay, we're going to do a couple more because it just looks weird for most people. All right, describe x is greater than negative 17 using set builder notation. So since it's just greater than negative 17, it's going to include all real numbers. So when we build it, your brace, x, the line, x is greater than negative 17, comma, x is an element of all real numbers, close brace. And that's all you have to do to write in set notation. All right, describe all multiples of 7 using set builder notation. So all multiples means infinity. It goes on forever. So that's what it says. So this one you can get a little creative with it. So there's the brace, there's the x, line, x equals multiples of 7. So it's 7n, comma, n is an element of integers. Okay? So these slides have multiple choice on it. So describe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and forever using set builder notation. So you know it's greater than or equal to 6. So obviously it's this one. But it's also natural numbers. So x is an element of n. And there's the answer. So that's set notation. Now interval notation is a little bit different. Interval notation is a little easier, but it's harder to understand. First thing, I'm going to put this here. There's 2 things you need to know about interval. You need to know braces, and you need to know parentheses. braces mean equal. It equals it. Parentheses means it's either less than or greater than. So that's the first thing you need to know. You also need to know the symbol of unions and intersections. So remember, unions is the U and intersections is the N. Okay, so write -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 12 using interval notation. So you just have to decide where your numbers are. Well, it's between -2 and 12. And they equal it because they have the equal signs with those. So when you write it, it's the bracket, -2, comma, 12, bracket. That means your set is between -2 and 12. Right? Write x is greater than -4 using interval notation. So first off, is it going to be a brace or is it going to be a bracket? I mean a parentheses or a bracket. Ugh. So it's not equal to, so it's going to be a parentheses. So it's everything greater than -4 because it's just doesn't give me anything about integers or natural numbers or stuff. So when we write it, parentheses, -4, comma, and since it's greater than, it goes on to infinity. So you'll be using the infinity sign a lot. And then close parentheses. Okay? Write x is less than 3 or x is greater than or equal to 54 using interval notation. So remember, or is unions, ands are intersections. So we go to write it. This is less than -3, so parentheses, negative infinity, comma, 3, parentheses, because that's what the first one is. Union, now this one equals, so a bracket, 54, comma, infinity, and on. So this would be more for set notation, even though that's not set notation, and this is interval notation. So write x is greater than 5 or x is less than -1. So if x is greater than 5, I need a parentheses, 5, and infinity. So parentheses, 5, and infinity. This is a bracket, so that's out. It's an or, so I need a union, so that one's out. This is a parentheses. The reason this one's out is because you can't have a bracket on infinity because nobody knows what infinity equals. So this one's out. But x is less than -1, so there's the negative infinity, and there is the -1. So check on Edmodo what the homework assignment is, and that's your first lesson.